Good morning, folks. We're gonna go ahead and get things set up here really quickly. Again, that starts at 10 this morning. So if I could have my organizers make sure that their mics are muted right now.
Hey, Ruben.
Hey, we're still trying to get set up here.
Good morning.
Um, so again, thank you folks for joining us here. And I'm talking directly to my organizers here. The broadcast is live. So we are, again, just waiting to get set up here. So for my organizers, if you can utilize the internal chat comms that we have set up to communicate with each other, again, thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Welcome to July 1st, Implementation Day. So for the webinar today, this is going to be a come and go dealer support webinar. So once you post a question in the question box, you are welcome to hang around for that to be answered. Once you have your question answered, you're welcome to leave at that point, or you can stay on and see other questions and answers that are being submitted. Throughout the presentation, we are going to just kind of read off some of those questions and answers, just so everyone can hear them and see them as well. So we'll go ahead and get started here. But just to kind of give you a heads up, the information that you are seeing on the screen will rotate. It is on a loop, so you will continue seeing that throughout the presentation today, but it is available for download in the Materials tab. So depending on if you are on a desktop or a browser version, it'll be under the Materials tab, either at the top right or possibly on the right panel of your screen. And you should see the HB 718 Dealer Support PDF. That way you can print out the information that you're seeing on your screen with those additional resources. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and read off some of the questions and answers that we have been receiving so far. All right, for the trade-in vehicle, what is the process on the license plates? Can the customer transfer the trade-in plates to the new vehicle? Yes, if a customer trades in a vehicle, the plates can be transferred to their newly purchased vehicle as long as it is in the same vehicle classification. So for example, if it's a passenger truck plate to passenger car truck, a trailer plate to trailer, motorcycle plate to motorcycle. So as long as it is in the same class, you are able to transfer that plate to a new vehicle, and it must be done within 10 days. If the customer does not want the trade-in plates, do we dispose of those plates from the trade, or do the plates stay with the vehicle? So a customer can keep their old plates. If the customer does not keep the plates, the dealer must remove them. The dealer may reassign those plates to another vehicle of the same classification, again, as we mentioned, but it must be done within 10 days, as mentioned as well. After the 10 days, the dealer must destroy those plates, and they can do that by either cutting them, taking them to a metal recycler, or turning them into a local regional service center. But the plates will no longer stay with the vehicle as previously, as HB 718 previously mandated with the new oh my goodness, I cannot speak today, I apologize. SB 1902 that passed recently, that does change that policy and that process to where the plates can be transferred to a vehicle of the same class within 10 days. Here's a question. I'm having trouble inputting my received order into the IMS. I entered all the information requested and it either shows no result or says server shut down. What can I do? So for one thing, Elizabeth, your inventory should already be received into IMS. If you are having trouble allocating your inventory through ePlate, that may be a separate issue. But I have heard that IMS is running a little bit slow today. So just kind of bear with that system. But the inventory itself should already be received into IMS for you. But if you do have issues with your IMS, you can call our customer service number at 1-877-833-2020 or 512-465-4010. We have a question here. If we do not see our first shipment inventory in view for the inventory section of the IMS system, we received our first shipment, but none of the plates are populating. So this may be an issue with the dealer location from what I have seen so far. So if your plate should automatically be received in IMS, as we mentioned, but if you do not see that inventory, you may be under the incorrect location. So please refer back to your emails that you received regarding your plate shipment. There should be a dealer ID included with that communication, and that is going to be the dealer ID that plate inventory is allocated to. So if you are in IMS and not viewing that inventory, that may be the issue. Let's see, I currently have a sale and the ePlate page is not working. Cindy, yeah, looks like you're provided with our CRD customer service information. You can reach out to them. You may just want to kind of give it a few minutes. Again, with the system being new, everything was transferred over over the night last night. So there may be some little glitches working out here and there. So you may just kind of give it a few minutes and see if that starts working again, or refresh your web browser to see if ePlate does start working. But if you can also be more specific on what is not working, is there a plate assignment not working? Is the page itself not working? So if you could provide a little bit more information, that would be great as well. And if you'll hear me go silent, just bear with me. I'm scrolling through some questions here. All right, we've got a question here. How long does a buyer with provisional plate have to get their portion plate with the county? So the purple provisional plate expires 7 days after the portion plate is assigned, but the apportion plate will not come from the county. That will come from the regional service center, and they do have to apply for that apportion plate through the RSC. There's quite a bit of documentation and paperwork that goes with that apportion plate. And it also depends if they already have an account or if they're setting up a new account. So there's kind of a lot to that to give a time frame, but that purple provisional plate will remain valid until 7 days after that apportion plate is assigned. So regardless however long it takes for them to get that plate, that provisional purple plate will be valid. And if you are having any issues with your plate allocation or your plate shipment, there will be a screen coming through shortly with some contact information. There is an email address to contact for our allocations team. It is dealers_allocation@txdmv.gov. So please reach out to them if you're having issues with your plate allocation or your shipment. I apologize for any silence. Again, I'm going through questions. Make sure I have some good questions and answers to read out to you. Hope you're all having a good morning so far. Thank you for joining us today, and we are here for your support. So if you missed my opening statement, if you receive your answer, you're welcome to drop off, or you're welcome to stay on. We will be on until noon answering questions. So you're welcome to stay as long as you want to, or you can drop off after you receive your answer. So here's a good question here. How do you assign plates in WebDealer for June transactions? So those transactions you will be able to transfer over your buyer's tag. So the WebDealer should provide you with the option to either transfer an ePlate assignment or carry forward a buyer's tag import information. So for any transactions that were processed in June, that would have buyer's tag information to transfer over for that WebDealer transaction. And I did just get word that there are some known issues with transferring those June transactions into WebDealer. We are aware of that and looking into it. So for the time being, if dealers aren't able to submit those June transactions in WebDealer, they will need to walk those transactions into the county. There are a couple questions if the IMS system is down. Just keep refreshing that page. It is going a little bit slow today as everyone is trying to access it at the same time. So please just bear with the system, keep refreshing and keep trying, and please just bear with that system today. So here's a question. If we are transferring a plate from a customer's trade-in to their new vehicle, what is the e-plate process? Is it a customer supplied plate? So it would actually be just a regular general issue plate, because if that plate would already be in your system if you've taken that in as a trade. So for today, for example, you wouldn't already have that vehicle in or that plate in your inventory unless you have already taken in a trade this morning. But for once that does occur, once you take in your trade, you process your VTN, that will put that plate into your inventory, and that plate would be available in your inventory. So you would do it as a general issue plate and then be able to assign that plate from your inventory. So there's a question, what are we supposed to do if we currently have customers with temporary tags? So any customers that you have already issued temporary tags to, those temporary tags do remain valid for the duration of that tag. So if you're referring to the application process, you'll still be able to do that as normal. There are a couple of issues with those transfers occurring in WebDealer today. So just kind of bear with the system, but you will be able to transfer any buyer's tags that are currently in the system over to WebDealer and process that transaction. I have a question regarding export deals. Once we make the sale, how does the customer get the export plate? Is it the dealer's responsibility to go get it or the customer? So it's going to be dependent on your business practice. So that red temporary registration plate can be obtained at the regional service center or county tax office, and that can be done either by the dealer or the customer. Again, that's going to be the best business practice that works for you and what kind of customer service you want to provide. And to kind of add to that, if they are going to trailer the vehicle, then the temporary plate would not be required. So if they are able to trailer the vehicle, or if that's what they plan to do with the vehicle, then a plate would not need to be obtained. We have a question here regarding the ordering process for the dealer temporary plates. So the dealer temporary plates are going to be ordered through the e-licensing. So you can get to that e-licensing portal from our website. You'll log in through there and be able to click on, I believe it's plates and stickers, and then be able to order those plates through the e-licensing application. Here's a question from Lucia. How is the process now if I sell a car today? I need to give the white plates and the sticker that I got in from where? So the process for today for selling a vehicle is you will assign them a general issue plate from your inventory, and you'll do that through the e-plate assignment in the e-plate application. The sticker will come from the county tax office once that transaction is approved and processed by the county. So that process will remain the same. It will be required to go through WebDealer, but it's still the same concept and process of yesterday's process. So for instance, yesterday, if you sold a vehicle, you would issue them a buyer's tag, and then within 30 days, you would take that transaction over to the county tax office or process it through a WebDealer. So today, you will issue them a general issue plate, no longer as a buyer's tag, and the transaction does still have to be submitted within 30 days, but now that will be required to be done through WebDealer if applicable, and you'll still get the sticker from the county tax office. So once that county processes and approves that transaction, they will then generate that sticker, and you will work with the county on coordinating that sticker pickup as you did with your plates previously. So we're seeing a couple messages and questions regarding the ePlate, getting any kind of error message. So if you are receiving an error message, just kind of hang tight with that system. Everyone's trying to access the same system this morning, whether they do have a sale and trying to process a transaction or just getting in there to check it out. So please just kind of bear with the system. There's high volume trying to access these systems today. So if you are receiving an error message, maybe just give it a few minutes, try refreshing that screen, and see if you're able to get that transaction to go through if you do have a sale. If you do not have a sale, we do ask that you please try to stay off of the system to kind of help support those that are trying to make a sale in a transaction for that volume. I see a couple questions and comments unable to see the inventory in IMS. If you are not able to see your inventory in IMS, but you have received your plate shipment, please ensure that you are viewing that inventory under the correct dealer ID. So in your communications that you would have received regarding your plate shipment, you should have received a dealer ID where those plates are allocated to. So please ensure that you are viewing that correct dealer ID to view that correct inventory in your IMS. If you do still have issues, definitely please reach out to our customer service support or let us know if you are still having issues under the correct dealer ID. Here's a question from Ariana. What does VTN consist of? Is it required every time we buy a truck or every time we sell a vehicle? So you will want to submit a VTN for any time you take a vehicle into your inventory. So you will not need to complete a VTN whenever you are selling inventory, only when you are the buying dealer taking in that inventory. That's another question here. Most of our inventory consists of trade-ins from new car dealerships. What happens if those trucks do not come with plates, have out-of-state plates, have damaged plates, or only have one plate? So whenever you're taking an inventory and you are submitting that VTN, that's when you will let the system know if that vehicle retained plates and if they were in good condition to basically be able to reuse. So if they are coming from out of state, obviously you will not transfer the out-of-state plate to your inventory because we will not reissue those out-of-state plates. So that will automatically not transfer over. If they're damaged, you just want to remove those plates and indicate that when submitting that VTN. And same thing if it only had one plate or no plates at all. You would just indicate that there are not plates to retain for inventory. And then at the time of sale, whether that's the same vehicle or another vehicle, then you just issue new general issue plates. So there's a question here. If we have a dealer-to-dealer trade of a brand new MSO vehicle, does the original dealer still assign a plate and then do a VTN assigning the plate to the new dealer? Or does the vehicle just go to the new dealer and the new dealer assigns the plate when it is sold? So if it's on an MSO, a VTN would not be required because there's not a Texas record to attach a VTN to or any inventory to carry forward. So if you are taking it from dealer to dealer on a new MSO, you just assign that title as normal. You'll transfer the vehicle using your dealer plates, whether that's standard or temporary, from location to location. Since it's not a retail sale, once it is sold as a retail sale, that selling dealer will assign a general issue plate. Here's a question for deals prior to July will be processed as before. So what dealer is currently not validating the buyer's tags that were issued prior to July 1st? So at this time, please refrain from submitting those transactions in the system at the moment until that system is updated. And at the time, you'll be able to either take those transactions into the county, or you may just want to give it a couple of days for the kind of volume to kind of settle down. If you do need to transfer that application, you can take that over to the county tax office so they can assess that buyer's tag fee appropriately and get that transferred for you. So there's a question, can someone walk through assigning the plates in the IMS system for the customer purchasing the car scenario? So the plate assignment is going to be done through ePlate, not through IMS. So IMS is only going to be for viewing your inventory at this time. And then once the ordering is enabled, you'll be able to order inventory at some point. However, you do not do the plate assignment through IMS. That is done through ePlate, which was previously eTag. So essentially, if a customer comes in today, purchases a vehicle, you will assign them a general issue plate from your inventory, and you will do that plate assignment in ePlate. We do have trainings available for the ePlate assignment if you need assistance with that. This slide here has that ePlate training, so you can click on that link. Just do Control-click and click on those links from that handout and access that ePlate training, and that should help with that scenario as well. How do we see your inventory in IMS? I can't see anything. We have our shipment. So if you missed this earlier, we do have, I'm sorry, if your inventory is not showing in IMS, please ensure that you are viewing under the correct dealer ID. If you have multiple dealer IDs under your GDN, there should be communications that you received regarding your inventory shipment, and that those communications should have included a dealer ID that inventory is associated to. So for the most part, what I have seen, dealers are not selecting that correct dealer location. So please ensure that you are selecting that within the drop-down in IMS to view that inventory. Question here, what plates are replacing vehicle-specific plates? So the vehicle-specific plates are being replaced by the dealer temporary plates, the metal plates. So if you are needing to assign a plate, whether that's agent-specific or vehicle-specific, that will be done as with the dealer plates, and then you'll assign that plate within the ePlate system. I have a question here. When do I have to use the purple provisional plate? So the purple provisional plate will only be used in the rare scenarios that you do not have inventory on hand. So if it is inventory that is allocated to you, such as general issue plates, or if you're a trailer dealer and trailer plates, say it's a farm truck and you don't currently have farm truck plates on hand, whether you've already placed your order, you're waiting on an order, then that's when you would use a purple provisional plate for anything that you can order but you don't currently have on hand. Or it can be used in the scenario if it is a portion or forestry that customer will be obtaining from a regional service center, then that purple plate can be used for that scenario as well. But if it's anything like a specialty plate, anything that's qualifying or specialty, you would assign a general issue plate, and the customer would need to obtain the correct type of plate from the county tax office.
All right. Good morning, folks. I'm actually going to switch out here for Lori. You're probably familiar with my voice, but my name is Frank, but I am going to start reading some of these questions off. We are going to alternate throughout the presentation. But again, let's keep on going into these questions. So the question here, who is the operator on the dealer plate assignment? Is this for test drives? So if a customer wants to test drive 4 vehicles, we need to do this every time. So like Lori had mentioned earlier, when it comes to those test drive options and you are going to be using them just for test drives, you don't have to go into ePlate and assign them every single time. Again, you are going into ePlate to make sure that you log in those trips, whether it be to service or you're transporting a vehicle to auction or whatever it might be. Again, if it's just going to be for test drives, you are not going to go into ePlates and assign them to each vehicle every time. All right. Okay. Question here, are we still able to use our dealer plates? So yes, if you're referring to those standard dealer plates, then yes, those will continue to exist. You can use them alongside the blue dealer temporary plates. Again, you do have the option for those standard dealer plates as well. Okay, next question here. What replaces the buyer's tags? When I went to order plates and e-licensing, I only saw templates and standard dealer plates. So yes, e-licensing, again, you're going to utilize e-licensing for those dealer plates. When it comes to those buyer's tags, now you're talking about issuing general issue plates. Again, that initial order is coming in from the DMV, but that is going to be through IMS on how to view, order, and receive that inventory. But ePlate is what you're utilizing to issue the general issue plates. Okay, in reference to the registration sticker, and if that county is providing those registration stickers for you all, they will let you know what their process is and how you receive that. Again, some counties may have you come pick those stickers up. Some counties may mail those out. That county will let you know what their process is as far as getting the registration stickers. Okay, next question. Can we let customers keep DV and handicap plates? That is correct. So if you have those individuals that already have those DV and handicap plates, then you can transfer them to the new vehicle. If that customer decides they want to keep them and maybe use them for another vehicle, then yes, they'll go to the county tax office and transfer that over. Otherwise, yes, you can let those customers keep those DV plates and handicap plates or transfer them. Okay, and I'm still seeing some more issues with seeing the inventory in IMS. Again, you want to make sure that you are viewing the correct location to pull up that inventory. So ensure that you are under that correct location to view that inventory. Okay, where do titles and documents get loaded for a state to review? Again, it's July 1 now. You're going to be utilizing Web Dealer to submit those transactions. That is going to be where you upload all of the documents needed for those transactions. Okay, question about what are the plates as far as when we're referring to them as the colors. So again, you're going to have the purple provisional plate. There's the blue dealer plates, the general issue plates that you'll see that are black and white with a star on the top left corner. And then there's also going to be a green out of state plate. And those are the plates that you will have in your inventory. There's also going to be a red temporary registration plate, which again, those are only going to come from the regional service centers and the county tax office. Okay, when it comes to salvage and rebuild titles, that process will remain the same right now. So you're going to continue following the same process that you have been. That is not changing as of right now. Okay, next question here. Does the transfer process need to be done at the time of sale? Again, from that time of sale, as a dealership, you have 30 days from that date of sale to submit that to the county tax office, but you also have 45 days if it is seller financed. Otherwise, yes, you have 30 days from the time of sale to submit that to the tax office. Okay, question here. Where do we go to order the dealer plates for test drives and such? Again, where you're ordering the dealer plates, whether that's the standard dealer plate or the blue dealer temporary plate, that is going to be through e-licensing. Okay, if I sell a car right now, I give them the temporary plate or give them the regular plates. So yes, if that vehicle is going to have a general issue plate and you have that on hand, you are going to issue the general issue metal plate. Okay, how do I order buyer's plates? Again, that is going to be utilized through the IMS. Once you log in through the web dealer portal, you're going to have that inventory icon on the far right. That is going to have the option to order. Again, you have the out-of-state plates, the purple provisional plates, and general issue plates, and as well as any other plate type available for your license type. Okay, how long does it take for the customer to get their plates? Again, you're going to be issuing them. So they will be able to leave your lots, and that is what they're going to need to leave your lot are those metal plates. Okay, in regards to exporting vehicles, if we sell a vehicle that's for export, we have to go to the tax office and pick up the red temp plates. That is correct. Again, getting that red temporary registration plates. It's going to be a business practice, so that can be either you or the customer. You're going to need the photo ID and also Texas liability insurance for those plates. But yes, that'll be at a regional service center or a county tax office. Okay, next question. If a customer is keeping their plate from trade, do they still submit a VTN? That is correct. You as the receiving dealer, again, you're still going to submit that VTN because it is required. But yes, you will submit a VTN. Okay, another good question here. How do we register the plates that we receive from a trade-in into the system? So again, when a vehicle is taken in on trade, you are going to submit those vehicle transfer notifications. When that VTN is completed, that will put that plate into your inventory. Okay, when working on a deal, do we charge the customer a license fee slash plate fee? So yes, you're going to charge a $10 plate fee in place of the $5 buyer's tag fee. Okay, next question. Do we only submit a VTN when taking in on trade, or do we submit it on vehicles we get from auction too? So yes, you're going to submit VTNs again anytime inventory is coming in, whether that's from a customer, auction, or from another dealer. When it comes to VTNs for the auction, right, because they're not going to come with those plates, the VTN has been enhanced so that you can add that auctions information, much like if it was coming in from a dealer, you could add their information in the event that they don't have those plates. But yes, you're going to submit it from it coming in from a customer, auction, or another dealer. Okay, again, if you need to order more general issue plates, again, in order to do so, you have to have used at least 50% of your allotted amount, and that is going to be utilized through the IMS system. Okay, I'm still seeing some individuals having some difficulties with assigning out-of-state plates. Again, be mindful. I'm currently working through that. Try to refresh the system, but it is being addressed here. Okay, is there a link to train on how to complete the actual title transfer application? So yes, as part of the training that we have developed here, on the deck that's going through right now, the cycling, if you get that downloaded, there is a link on how to submit a transaction utilizing Web Dealer. And that can also be found on our website. But again, from the link on our handout, we do have several different trainings on a few different examples, as well as a trailer and an off-highway that you can watch on how to submit those utilizing Web Dealer. Next question. So we're able to transfer the trade-in vehicle plates to the new vehicle. You no longer have to hold on to those plates and reissue them to the vehicle once it is sold to another customer. Again, when consumers sell or trade in a vehicle with those general issue plates, you as a dealer, you're going to remove them. Then you do have the ability to transfer them to another vehicle sold within 10 days, as long as it's within the same vehicle classification. Again, you do have that flexibility now. Okay, as far as your standard dealer plates, Again, those are going to continue to be used. As far as the expiration date on them, again, that is aligned with your 2-year license. So that sticker will reflect that, and that will continue to be valid until it expires or until you renew the sticker for them.
All right, Frank,
Mhm.
Tag, I will take over for a bit. All right, we've got a question here. When the vehicle is purchased or traded, do we need to go into the inventory and add this plate number to assign to the vehicle in the same class before the 10-day period? So you will submit a VTN when taking in that vehicle. When submitting that VTN, that will automatically place that plate into your inventory. If another vehicle of the same class is sold within that 10-day time period, that plate will automatically appear in your inventory whenever you're doing your e-plate assignment. I've got a question here. When we log into WebDealer, our screen is not set up showing our county. Our dealer number, let's see, you only sell trailers. So if you were logged into WebDealer and you're not seeing a county, you should only see a county option whenever you're going in to transfer and process a title application. That's when you would see a processing county option. If that is what you are referring to, that may mean that you're not set up with that county. So please ensure that you are set up with the county properly. And that county should appear in the drop down for the processing county. If that is not the scenario, if you're still having issues with that, it looks like we did provide some contact information for you for our customer relation division. But yeah, please make sure you are properly set up with the county for them to appear on WebDealer for you. All right, I apologize for any silence. Just going through some questions. There are quite a few questions in here, and our team is working diligently to make sure those are answered for you. So I'm just trying to go through and see if I can read some of these out loud for you guys. I do see a lot of comments and questions if you're having issues accessing ePlate or IMS. So I know there's a lot of curiosity going around, but we ask if you do not have an immediate need for IMS or ePlate. If you are not currently selling a vehicle, we ask that you please do not access these systems at this time due to the high volume that may be delaying some of these issues or creating some of the delays in the system. So again, if you are not immediately needing to use these systems, we ask that you please refrain from accessing them. We know you're curious and we know you want to see them, but that is just kind of creating a high volume for those systems. So we ask that you please do not access them if absolutely necessary. I've got a question here. So if I do an export deal today and the customer needs the plate today, I have to go to the tax office to get one. And why were export plates not issued to us? So those red temporary registration plates are the only plate that can be used for export sales. So it's not necessarily an export plate. So it's the temporary registration plate, and those are only assigned to county tax offices and regional service centers since they're taking place of the previous 30-day and one-trip permits. So again, there's not an export plate per se, but that is the only plate that is valid for export sales. And again, those can only be obtained from a county tax office or regional service center. And I want to add a clarification for the Consumer Relation Division customer service number. The number is 1-877-933-2020. Again, that number is 877-933-2020. Again, please feel free to add any questions in the chat. We'll try to address them here as well. I got a question here. Sorry, but I'm still confused. Which plates do I use for vehicles on transit from auction to car lot? So you will use the blue temporary plates. And it can actually be any of the dealer plates. It can be your standard dealer plates if you've previously had those and been using those. Those are still valid to use for that purpose, as well as the new blue temporary dealer plates. Those can be used for any kind of transport to or from auctions, to services, to any other dealer, anything like that for dealer business. Customer buyer plates issued before July 1st will be active today. Yes, so any temporary registration, tag, plate, anything that would have been assigned before July 1st is still valid. So if you assigned and issued a temporary buyer's tag yesterday, that is still valid for that 60 days from the date that that was issued and assigned. That will remain valid. Here's a good question. Does the dealership automatically get new shipments once we are running low, or do we have to order manually? So you will order manually once that ordering is enabled. So your first shipment was automatically ordered for you and automatically received in the IMS system. Once you have used at least 50% of your quarterly allotment, you'll just need to keep an eye on that inventory as a business practice to kind of keep an eye on your inventory. And once you have used at least 50% of that quarterly allotment and the ordering has been enabled, you'll be able to order additional inventory for your dealership. There's a question on how to get the blue dealer temporary plates. So those dealer temporary plates, the blue plates, are going to be obtained and ordered through your e-licensing account. So you can go online to our website, access the e-licensing portal, and there is that is where you will request and apply for those dealer temporary plates. Are we still allowed to have agent-specific tags? So not exactly. Agent-specific tags have been replaced with the dealer temporary tags, but their plates will now have to be assigned to a vehicle by VIN. So there's no longer an option to assign it just to an agent. It will have to be assigned in e-plate with it using a VIN number and assigned to an actual vehicle. Here's a question. Do we need to report when we received a provisional plate back? No, you do not need to report that. Please just dispose of that properly. That can either be cut with metal shears. You can take it to your local county tax office, regional service center, and metal recyclers. Just please make sure that that is properly disposed of and not able to be reused. But no, you do not need to report that in the system. Can we still use an agent paper tag if it hasn't expired and we issued it before July 1st? Yes. So again, any previously issued temporary tags are still valid through the expiration that they have been assigned to. So any tags that have been already issued, if they have not expired yet, they are still valid. I've got a question here. If we sell a combination truck and don't have a combination plate, can we use purple plate so the customer can leave? So no, Daniel, in that scenario, he would use a general issue plate, and then they would need to get a combination plate from the county tax office. If a customer loses a general issue plate, who replaces it, me or the DMV? So the county is actually going to be the one replacing that plate. So if the plate has been assigned, the customer leaves your lot, and something happens to that plate after they leave, they would need to go into the county tax office and request a replacement plate once that transaction has been processed. So keep in mind that that transaction will have to be in the system for them to apply for a replacement plate. If it has not currently been processed in the system, for instance, they leave your lot, they drive off with a vehicle, 2 days later, something happens to that plate. However, the transaction hasn't been processed and applied for yet, they would need to apply for a temporary registration plate for that vehicle. Here's a question. What do we do, or where do we go to assign general issue plates to a car that we just sold? So you will do that through the ePlate system. It's formerly eTag. There has been some connectivity issues this morning, so please use your internet down receipt if you're unable to access ePlate. We also just keep trying that system. There is a very, very high volume of people on that system today, as you can expect and imagine. And again, if you are not needing to assign a plate, please refrain from accessing that system and creating that high volume if it's not necessary. But if you do need additional assistance with how to assign those plates, we do have available training. You can download the handouts in this materials tab. There is a slide that's going to be coming up here shortly that will show you available trainings that we do have, and ePlate assignment is one of those trainings available, and it is available on demand 24/7. So if you want to go and download those materials, download this deck that you're seeing scrolling through, and there will be a link for the ePlate. Once you register for that, that will take you directly to that recording and provide you with that recording of that training information. And here's that slide on those trainings. So again, you can click on any of these links from the downloaded or downloadable handout. So blue plates is good only during business hours until 5 p.m. So blue plates can be used for vehicle demonstrations. It can be used for transit from a dealer auction, a mechanic, a body shop, anything like that. It can also be used for loaner vehicles for customers, vehicles used for charitable organizations. They cannot be used for dealership personnel for personal use. They must be displayed and secured in rear plate holder. They cannot be used for carrying a load unless the vehicle is carrying another vehicle with the dealer temporary plate to or from a point of sale, and they are valid until the next renewal of that dealer's license. So not necessarily just until 5 p.m. for business hours, as long as it's being used for business use. So if a customer needs a lender, do we assign a blue plate to them, or do we just install the blue plate? So you will need to assign that blue plate in ePlate. So if they're leaving your lot, they're taking possession of that vehicle temporarily as a loaner vehicle, you will want to do the ePlate assignment in the ePlate system and assign that plate to that vehicle and to that whoever's operating that vehicle. So if you have placed your order for your new dealer temporary plates and you have not received them yet, you can still use your standard dealer plates. So if you already have your standard dealer plates, you can still use those. They're still valid through the duration of your dealer's license, and you are still able to use those. You're just not able to use the new plates for personal use. Is the only difference between the standard dealer plate and the new temporary dealer plate. So if you do already have those standard dealer plates, you can continue to use those for the same purposes. If one of our representatives that are answering questions in the chat, if they ask you a follow-up question, please try to provide further context. Unfortunately, the questions are not threaded, so the conversations are not threaded. So if they reply to yours and you submit what you think is a reply, it just comes through as a brand new message without any for additional context. So if you are replying to something that someone else has asked, please try to provide all additional context and information. Do out-of-state buyer plates have to be returned? No, they do not. So if you sell an out-of-state, or if you sell a vehicle to a customer that lives out of state and they will not be titling or registering that vehicle in the state of Texas, you will assign them the out-of-state buyer plate. They will take that vehicle back to their home state, title and register that vehicle within their required time frame, and they do not need to return that plate back to you. If they wish to, they can definitely return that back to you, so that you know that that is not being used inappropriately, or you can also just advise them to destroy that plate once they have their permanent plate from their other state. Just a quick announcement. There was an incorrect number given at one point. If for the correct number for our consumer relation division, again, that number is 1-877-933-2020. We apologize for any inconvenience of that. If you call the incorrect number, we apologize. The correct number is 1-877-933-2020. If we had web dealer for a while and had the ability to give out print the stickers in store, are we able to still print them with the sticker inventory that we have, or do we need to go to the county tax office now? No, if you are currently bonded with your county and you are currently a dealer deputy, you can continue issuing those registration stickers as normal. Now, your plate inventory, you will need to ensure that you are using your new plate inventory that you would have received. The county will come by before the end of July and verify your county issued inventory, and then that will eventually be transferred to your permanent inventory in IMS. Will all plates at all times be required to be under lock and key? Absolutely. So those plates that you have received, they must be stored securely in a locked cabinet affixed or bolted to a floor or wall, and they must be secured at all times. So please make sure they're not just in an office where people can come in and out of throughout the day. That does need to be a secure location. I was asked to repeat that number again. Yes, the correct number is 1-877-933-2020. If you are still having any issues or errors on the eTag system, please just kind of bear with the system. If you're able to log out for a little bit, our IT department is working diligently to ensure that these applications are running smoothly. But again, as a reminder, if you do not need to actively use these systems, please refrain from accessing at this time and creating that high volume. Our IT is working diligently to try to get these operational. We had a question, do we complete a VTN when a car is repossessed and put back into our inventory? Yes, you will want to complete a VTN for that scenario because that does change ownership. So you do want to take back that ownership and put that plate back into your inventory. When we sell a vehicle through an auction, who do we report as a buyer, the auction or the buyer? So whenever you're submitting that VTN in the system, you will indicate that that was purchased from an auction. How do I get stickers for the blue plates? So whenever you order those blue plates from the e-licensing system, the stickers will be generated and sent to you with those plates. If you do have any issues with that, you can contact our MVD division, and their information is on one of the slides here as well.
All right, Lori, I can tag in here for you.
Thank you, Frank. I'll keep answering questions in the chat.
Thank you. Question here for trade-in vehicles. What is the process on the license plates? Can the customer transfer the trade-in plates to the new vehicle? Again, yes, you do have that flexibility. If that customer wants those plates, then absolutely you can transfer them over. Again, you do have that flexibility to reissue them. Doesn't have to be to that same customer or to that same vehicle. Again, within 10 days, as long as it's the same vehicle classification. Okay, regarding your current inventory for the VTNs, do you have to submit them for them? No, you don't have to. Again, submit VTNs for the vehicles currently on your lot. We suggest that you do as a best practice, but you don't have to submit those for the vehicles that were previously on your lot. Again, anything entering as of now, you will be entering those into the VTN process. Okay, next question here. When it comes to vehicles, when you need to transport them to a shop, what plate do you again use? Again, that's going to be either those standard dealer plates or those blue dealer temporary plates. They are reusable, so you can use those blue ones as needed. So if you need to use them to transport them to a shop or service, or maybe to another dealer location, again, you can utilize those plates and then reuse them as needed. Okay, in the event that the internet is down, you're going to utilize the internet down receipts. You're still going to issue the metal plate so that that customer can leave your lot. Once the internet comes back up, then yes, you're going into there and assigning that plate into the system. Okay, in regards to those plate shipments, I do see some concerns about the mailbox and maybe them fitting, but a signature is going to be required for the delivery of those plates, and then they'll be returned to the warehouse if that signature is not captured. So if you're concerned with that, again, a signature is going to be required. Okay, which plates are going to be used for test drives? Again, you have two different options here. You're going to have the dealer temporary plates, but you can still utilize the standard dealer plates if needed. Again, those are going to coexist, so you have both options there. Okay, if a customer needs a lender, so if you're providing those loaner vehicles, do we assign a blue plate to them or do we just install the blue plate? So yes, you're still going to attach that blue plate to that loaner vehicle, and E-plate, you are going to assign it to that specific vehicle. And then once that vehicle gets returned, then you can remove that assignment. But yes, you're going to provide that blue dealer temporary plate to that vehicle. And then in E-plate, again, you're going to assign that information for the vehicle. Okay, if the customer is keeping their plates on a trade-in, do you still do a VTN? That is correct. Okay, when the customer returns the provisional plates, can we reuse it to another customer? Again, those purple provisional plates, they are not reusable. So once you receive them, then yes, you're going to dispose of them properly. Again, using some metal shears to cut them, taking them to a metal recycler, or at a regional service center. And those purple provisional plates, again, what are they used for? Because I do see a question on that again. So again, these are going to be issued when you don't have that applicable license plate in your inventory. A good example is going to be for my dealers who have customers getting apportion plates, or maybe you ran out of a farm plate, for example. But that is going to be when you utilize the purple provisional plate. Okay, so clarification or kind of a walkthrough process on, again, when you're selling a vehicle. Again, essentially the first step, right after you have sold that vehicle, you're going to go into ePlate, assign the metal plate for that vehicle. Then you as a dealer, you have 30 days to get that submitted to the county tax office. Once that is submitted, approved, and paid for, then that county will provide you with that sticker. And again, that process is going to depend on the county. Some counties will mail that out to you. Some will have you come pick them up so that you can provide to that customer. But that plate that you had issued to that customer, an E-plate, is their permanent plate, and it becomes so once they are provided that sticker. And the plate will be valid until, again, they receive that sticker. Next question. So can we sell a vehicle while we're waiting for the title? Again, you wouldn't be able to sell a vehicle until you have that title in hand. So you should not be selling vehicles unless you have that title. As far as the expiration date for the purple provisional plates, again, they're going to be valid 7 days after the permanent plate is issued. So if it takes the county 2 weeks to provide that plate, again, once they issue it, that is when that 7-day timer begins. And that's for the purple provisional plate. Okay. So if you have deals that you didn't issue a buyer's tag, um, and you have those vehicles still, and you need it, now you're going to be issuing those plates, but it's going to be the general issue plates, so not the purple provisional plates. So we're about 15 minutes out. Again, I would advise utilizing this time to make sure that you have the handout downloaded, and that's going to be located on the top right of the GoTo platform here. And it's going to have this deck that's been cycling through the entire Q&A. And there again on the training link or a slide specifically, again, that's going to have all of those different links for those different trainings. Once you click those links, it is going to look like registration. So you are registering for those classes, but once you've done so, then those videos will come up so that you can watch them. But yes, those links are for the training in there. Again, I advise watching all of those trainings. They're going to be very beneficial to you all, especially because there is the training on how to assign plates and e-plates, how to utilize IMS, and then also a training on the metal plates. Again, you can watch those at your own pace. They're videos that you can pause, take notes of. Definitely get that handout downloaded because again, we are coming up on 13 minutes left because once we end the webinar, those handouts will no longer be available. Okay, again, when it comes to the inventory on IMS, again, you want to make sure that you're on the correct location to make sure that you are viewing that inventory. As far as receiving the inventory into the system, and that's going to be automatically done for you all for that initial shipment. Okay, where to access the internet down receipts. And you're going to utilize ePlate. On the Plates tab, you're going to go towards the bottom of options. You're going to see the internet down receipts option. Then you'll select that. Then it'll let you know how many you have available and how many you're going to enter to print. Again, we advise you print your amount that you have so that you have those available. But that is going to be through ePlate under the Plates tab. Okay, the out-of-state plates. If you have a customer, again, that's going to title and register their vehicle out of state, you're going into ePlate, assigning the green plate. Then that customer will be able to drive off. It's only one plate that'll be on the back of the vehicle, and they do not have to send that plate back to you all. Okay, in the event that a customer decides that they no longer want that vehicle, maybe they drive it around for a few days and you hadn't submitted that to the county tax office and it hadn't been reviewed already, Then yes, once that customer brings back that vehicle with the plate, you're going to go into ePlate and void it out. Okay, as far as who is in charge of registering out-of-state customers, at that point, again, they're going to have to follow their state's rules and guidelines. But yeah, that is going to be the customer's responsibility. You as a dealership, you can, try to provide that service to your customers, but essentially, yeah, you're giving them that plate so that they can go and title and register that vehicle in their home state. Okay, when it comes to that VTN process, again, if that customer is going to keep those plates, you're going to identify so on the VTN. But again, that will all be information you fill out during the VTN submission process. Okay, next question here. Does every car sale require a temporary license plate? So it just depends on that transaction. Again, if it's going to receive the registration here in Texas, then you are going to be assigning those plates. In the event that you have a title-only transaction, then in those cases, yeah, you're not going to be assigning a plate. But yes, otherwise, if it's registered here in Texas, you're going to assign a general issue plate. If it's getting registered outside of Texas, you're still going to issue that green plate as well. Okay. Again, how to download the handouts. So in the GoTo platform, on the top right, next to the question box, you're going to see a paper and paperclip icon. Once you click that, you're going to see that PDF file. You're going to see the three dots on the far right, or if you click on it, it does give you the option to download it. Just got to make sure you get that downloaded. Again, that's in the top right on the paper and paperclip icon. You're looking for the House Bill 718 dealer support PDF form in there. Okay, next question. Can we order more plates for out of state? So yes, much like any of the other plates, once you dip below that 50% allotted amount, then absolutely you can start ordering those plates so that you make sure you have the correct amount of inventory on hand. Okay, on disability plates or VA plates, I'm assuming that's the disabled veteran plates here. How does that work? Again, if your customer has those plates already, then you can transfer them to their new purchase. In the event that that customer needs to apply for them and they don't quite have those plates yet, then you can issue a general issue plate. That customer will apply for those plates once they receive them. Then they can go into the county tax office and transfer those over to their new vehicle. So, all right, folks, we are coming up on that 12 o'clock here. So, again, in the handouts, before we close it out, make sure to have that downloaded. It's this slide that has been cycling through the presentation. There's some good email contact information. So there's that email shown on the screen here about inventory shipments, dealer plate orders, or metal plate storage requirements. So we do have those good emails on there. That training slide, again, it has all of those individual links so you can register for those courses and watch them. Again, you want to make sure that you go into there. Again, we do have some great trainings in there. How to walk you through utilizing the ePlate system or IMS. Again, that is going to be located on the top right. Again, you're looking for that paper and paperclip icon. Okay, and then last question here. So do we have to submit multiple VTNs when we receive the car as trade and when we reassign the plates? So again, you're only going to be submitting those VTNs as they're entering your inventory. So when you're selling them, you don't have to submit a VTN. So again, incoming inventory, whether that's from trade-in, from a customer, or from a dealer, or from auction, that is when you are submitting the VTNs, not when you are selling them. So again, that concludes our time here. We know we have a lot of questions here. There's quite a few of them. Again, we are going to keep this webinar open here for a few minutes to make sure you have time to get those handouts downloaded. We do have another session this afternoon Also tomorrow, same time, and in the afternoon. Again, to register for those, you just go on to the DMV's website, you go into the calendar, then there's going to be those registration links. Just sign up for them so that you can attain or attend those other trainings. But again, thank you all for your time. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. If we don't see you guys again, have a good 4th. Thank you, everybody.